Thank you for your cooperation.
Well, a moving moment, no doubt, for many in the Japanese team, Michael Leach as well. But now it's time for the anthems.
はじめにフランス共和国国歌です。The National Anthem of the French Republic. The National Anthem of Japan.
A poignant day.
Just wonder what Japan have really focused on this week after that first test last week in Nagoya. Just lacked a bit of control. Yes, you want to try and play an open, expansive game, touchline to touchline, and that's exactly how we expect the Japanese to play, but you do need some balance to that. Certainly would have focused on it during training this week.
Well, Jamie Joseph talked midweek about how Japan overplayed last week in Nagoya, particularly in the second half that got away from them. I think the assured performance from Yoan Moefana and Yoan Tanga also had rather a lot to do with France's dominance. But today's another day, another 80 minutes. And Luku will clear the lines from kickoff.
There's two teams, isn't it, that want to play in a very, very similar way. Fast-paced, ball off the floor, being recycled through the hands. Different stages of their evolution.
Naoto Saito looks to try and get them going, and that's the big frame of Sana Iloanga into the side this week. Just a second cap, made his debut against Uruguay in the second test, but it was, well, lost on the floor initially, but then it was Demba Bamba who just knocked it on.
It's a good carry by Wenger, but far too upright. Look how upright he is, and that just allows the French defence to get in on the ball. Lacking control with the ball on the deck. Lucky not to turn that over, the French. Just a little knock on.
Tito Movaka doing the hard stuff. Wouldn't have appreciated his front row colleague knocking it on after all that.
Hugging it out.
No such thing as a lightweight Japanese pack. Proving the heavier as we have the game's first scrum.
More space, more space. We're already head on shoulder, more space. Let's go, quick reset,
Love watching Demba Bamba. He is an absolute beast, both at scrum time but also in the loose. I think that's where France see the biggest impact from him in their side. And he gets on the charge. Look out.
Well, with the absentees, likes of Marchand, Cyril Bay, Uini Atonio, it is a chance for others to stake their claim. Penalty goes to France. Bamba was on the bench for the opening 3 matches of the Six Nations. Before this tour, his last start was last summer against Australia.
Yeah, number 1's elbow's well down. No. Bind was fine for me. Japan on the line.
French drum row getting the penalty.
Can't quite see from that angle. It's right in front of the referee.
France go cute, take it quickly at the front. Tapped down by Jack Cornelson, according to referee Adamson.
Well, I reckon if he'd been slightly more aware of that ball not having have gone, he was off on the races.
Second France penalty allows them to put it even further into the corner. Tito Movaka heads over. 25-year-old. Is it going to be Jolmes? No, it's going to be Olivant who rises and then played away from Tanga and Luku, and the man who was so influential certainly in that second half last week, Mofana, with his first carry in the midfield. Luku wants it again. Cretin was on the left, but it comes back to the right, and Tanga makes the tackle. France continue to look with Mofana again, looking to find the chink in the Japanese armour. Off to the right they go, Vakatawa. Oh, the late switch with Penaud wasn't quite going to work, came off the right hand. And Japan will be satisfied, if not delighted, with that defensive effort.
Well, they got caught out a couple of times last week, didn't they? But that blindside was certainly fully aware of the threat of Penaud and Vakatawa. Fifita did really well to just get in low. Vakatawa leaving it far too late to look for his support player in Penaud. Good to see Vakatawa back though. He's a terrific threat in that French midfield. Had some injury problems, wasn't picked for a while. Got a good opportunity through this summer to restake his claim.
French scrum going forwards on the Japan ball, but the Brave Blossoms do well to try and use it quickly. Oh, but the clearance kick has only bounced off the French. Rescue job desperately needed from Ryohei Yamanaka. Carry from Cornelson. In at number 8, having been second row last week, the Australian-born man signed into the Japan League One by one Robbie Deans. Another kick that's been touched, semi-charged down. Advantage being played. Extraordinarily, I don't think actually Lebel knocked that on, so on we go. Flamand. Lucu. Oh, now Jolmes has lost it. It was just after the referee had called advantage over as well, so this is advantage to Japan, and they will come again through Sung-Shin Lee, and that's really nice work to find Fifita on the left, who just run out of room. But you can see where Japan want to go as soon as they've got a little bit of ball, a little bit of time, and up the tempo goes.
And there'll be a lot heading out towards Fifita. They can get him in slightly more space than that. He should have dropped it on the Larry left, I reckon, but maybe doesn't have one. Right option, though.
There's your mark, France.
Brilliant transition from the Japanese, switching from defence to attack really quickly.
It's the skipper that time. Lucu keeps it low, drilled it down, came off the knee. Oh, is that an immediate turnover? Look at that from Jean-Baptiste Gros. Then back in field, it's a little broken here. Initial tackle from Sung-Shin Lee was really important just to slow that down. Jalibert took up a little deeper position. Now Penaud is herring after this. Ball is getting close to that touchline. Yamanaka, he was hoping he might be able to tiptoe around Penaud, but the French winger knew all he had to do was push him into touch.
That's something that Jalibert has developed over the past few years. His first instinct is to run, to look for space, to try and find offloads, to shift the ball. But he wasn't even sat in a pocket. He was in an attacking position and just thought, you know what, we'll pop the ball back over that defensive line. Go and spend some time in that Japanese 22. Intelligent play from the French fly half.
Got another go here, France then. Repelled a couple of minutes ago, but Flamand brings it down. Movaka at the back. Lucu will want it. Mofana, he was well lined up. They will come again. Penaud coming over from the right. Now the long pass to find Mathys Lebel, who scampers away and goes into the corner. Penaud opening the scoring last week. Lebel doing so this week. France on the board.
It's all too simple, isn't it? Far too simple for the French. But check out this ball from Vakatawa.
Okay, thank you.
Good carry from Moefano initially, but look at this. Takes the ball to the line and then a flat pass. Should probably do slightly better. Defensively, the Japanese, they'll be disappointed there. Maybe stay on their feet a bit longer, but Lebel, he doesn't need too much of a sniff, does he?
Got a try last week and another one this week. He was running along at 10 tries in all competitions for the season, make that 11. Taking his chance while Gabin Villiers watches on from home, no doubt. Lucu taking on the kicking duties. It was Melvin Jaminet last week, but in the absence of Jaminet, Lucu puts 2 points on the board. Japan 0, France 7.
It's just a slight double pump from Vakatawa, which just holds the defence on his running line, and that creates just half an extra yard of space for Lebel on that left wing. Brilliant play from the French centre.
Lee with the restart. Ball's gone forwards. Oh, but it was initially Off a Japanese hand, Fifita's appealing.
I was in line, went forward off the hand for me. Halfway. So right here.
Fifita hoping the lateral call might.
Good elbow, feet close.
That would
good
have
lock
been very
line.
generous.
Might have been, yeah. Few of the travelling French fans managing a chorus of Allez les Bleus in the Tokyo Stadium. Niku. Jalibert. Van den Heever. Yamanaka for Fifita. It's nice interplay from Nakano, and then off for Riley, and then this might be a superb score for Japan. Oh, the support line on the inside from Yamanaka. What a try! Nothing brave about that. Skillful, dynamic, and superb from Japan.
Absolute class from the Japanese. The counter-attack was crisp, it was effective, and just very simple. Fifita did well, fixed, you can see what a physical threat he is. Fixed two defenders, that ball out the back. Left-handed, out the back door. Check this out. This is world class. And as much as Van den Heever would have wanted to put his head down to get that score in the corner, took the right option, fed the ball inside. You won't see a better try this weekend, I don't reckon. And there's some games going on.
Certainly are 19 internationals over the course of this weekend. What about the filth of the offload from Dylan Riley? Sung-Shin Lee. He's looked to curl that around, but I'm not sure it's going to come round enough. Got 13 points last week, the Kobelco Steelers man. Yet to open his account. Japan 5, France 7, but what a 5.
Incredible. It's an intelligent line from Riley anyway, because he comes inside, then heads back out, which is great. But then the ability for Van den Heever just to put the brakes on and pass that ball back inside to Yamanaka, who really started it all. It was those two that started it, wasn't it? From the kick receipt. So good.
Two teams just getting a bit of a water break. Such are the temperatures, the humidity. It was every 10 minutes last week in Nagoya.
If I was having a water break though, I might stand in the shade. Just something to point out.
We'll try and get that message downfield.
Certainly the temperatures ramp up, don't they, through Japan in the summer. Really humid as well.
Japan shading the possession, sorry, France, 61-39. It's a really interesting new threat, Ranga. Leach, just on the outside, Saito. Sizing up the options well. Look at the footwork from Lee. Korean, that was nice. Then Saito wants to stick it over the top, but Jalibert was well positioned. It was a late hit.
Late tackle, number 4.
Penalty goes to Japan.
You can see the intent with which they play Brilliant decision from Michael Leach not to go for the offload. You could see he was desperate to get that ball out of his hands. And actually, that late tackle from the French, specifically Thibaut Flamand, was worked out for the Japanese because it was a fairly poor kick on from Saito.
Decision when not to play, just as important as when to play at the very top level.
100%. If you look at this, look at Leach. He was desperate to give that ball. It's all about making good decisions.
Line-out hasn't worked out, though. It could be an option for France here as Movaka played it out. Wasn't the best pass and not the best kick either from Mofana. Japan in this position might fancy the chance to try and create once more. That's their own 10-metre line there from Saito. Shorter ball back in field. Now short side they go. Ball played on from Gunter and then Riley. Already witnessed a moment of magic from the Gold Coast-born Aussie. Scored a decisive try in the 73rd minute to win the Japanese League One title with Saitama Wild Knights at the end of May. Used to the big occasion. Spring. Haven't seen too much of him on the ball so far, but dealt with that one well. And Jalibert looking for a little bit of open turf, but didn't find it there. Oh, and then Van den Heeven. Now with the chip over the top. Jalibert's got to get on his bike here, and are they going to carry this over? Luku. Oh, he's then kicked it into his own man. Japan are putting all sorts of pressure on France, and Van den Heeven is having a much better start this week than he enjoyed last week in Nagoya.
He's been central to everything, hasn't he? Good decision to kick, and even better, the kick just sat up short of the French try line. He's done Dinner and Cretin in the space of 2 metres there, but look at this, popped up, meant that France had to play the ball, and then Lebel, well, he gets a falcon. It's not what you want from point-blank range off your scrum half, but they're in all sorts of trouble, aren't they?
Well, look at where it's brought Japan. 5-metre scrum then. We saw France power away once the score had been 13-all at half-time last week. Have to imagine that's why Jamie Joseph has brought Sanai Lawaka and Warner Dearns into that second row. Penalty advantage being played, yeah. Warner Dearns. He is one of those big men trying to get through Tanga. Then it's there for Saito. They're looking off to the right. Back in field goes Nakano. Not quite going to come that time as Valu plays it on. Japan go off their feet to try and secure it, so the referee's going to have to bring them back for that penalty.
They look equally as comfortable taking on France on the width as they do physically. There's a couple of really big lumps in there in terms of Vanga and Gunter.
What do you make of that decision? It's a test match, they've obviously got the chance to take 3 points, but it certainly felt there a couple of penalties coming that they had the French on the ropes, but perhaps a little concerned about how they might win the ball back from set piece.
Well, yeah, I think that they're under the pressure at the scrum time, aren't they? We've seen that from the 2 or 3 scrums that we've had so far. The French have gained dominance in that area, and why not just take a bit of the sting out of the game, stick 3 points on the board, take the lead, more importantly. I think last week would have given Japan quite a bit of confidence, because if you can highlight some areas of the game which you were really poor in terms of control, in terms of making wrong decisions, you get those bits right, fundamentally there's not a huge amount that's wrong with your game, and we know how passionate the Japanese are, how fit they are. They pride themselves on how fit they are.
Lee, 3 points on the board. Japan go into the lead, 8 points to 7. Jalibert returned in May after injury. Sends that deep. There was a last-minute reset needed by Fafita to just take that one out of the sunshine, and look at the work rate once again of Sanae Loanga. Also scored 11 tries in all competitions this season, Wanga, so...
He's not a bad bloke to have in and around that breakdown, is he? Just to look up and just say, listen, mate, get us on the front foot.
And he's uncompromising in his style, isn't he? The French are not going to enjoy every time he's coming at them. French on a 9-game winning streak, going back to, well, around this time last year when they lost 33-30 on their tour to Australia. They go to the front again. Used this move once already. Now it's going to be the long pass out for Lebel once more. Oh, who's just got away. And at the second time of asking, he's really got away. But how was that ball dislodged? Super again, defensively that time. There's a knock-on advantage through the tackle. Van den Heever.
He's having a great game.
He's having a belter, isn't he?
To aid his team defensively there, but that's great footwork. You shouldn't have worried about the ball. Don't worry about the offload, just get the player on the floor. Let the players on the inside come and cover your back for the offload. Whatever Riley can do, he can do better. It's tough.
Another water break.
Sorry, it's tough when you're playing in Japan. I've been out there for a pre-season, and the ball is so greasy. No matter how much handball wax you use or sticky spray, the humidity is so difficult for conditions. And we saw it early on in the World Cup, didn't we? Especially down in Kobe, where the humidity was ridiculous. The handling conditions so tough.
Yeah, Mathys Lebel was talking about that last week. The impact of the humidity on the basics.
It's not just passing, catching, it's actually controlling the ball on the floor. When you drop the ball to kick it, perhaps you don't have as much control over the drop of the ball, which is really important in the technique of kicking. It's a real element that's tough to deal with.
No lack of belief in this Japan side.
At line out.
Time before they played last week, of course.
Wait for the arms to come down at the line out.
It was at La Défense in Paris, that 23-all draw in
Wait for the arms to come down.
2017.
On the 5, guys. Yeah.
Only man standing from that day is on the bench, Sekou Makalu for France.
Yeah, there's the mark, let's go.
Couple in the Japan side. Skipper at Sushi Sakate in the middle. Came off the bench in that game. It's his 3rd game as captain. We've already had an awful lot of test match rugby. We've only played 21 minutes, but Japan from inside their own 22. That is a monster boot downfield. Spring from outside is 22.
Sorry, I think that's the first time you mentioned his name. I've hardly seen him.
Yamanaka. Jalibert. This time from inside the 22.
Japan quite happy to play the ball down in those deep areas. Their kick chase is always going to be good because they pride themselves on doing the very simple things well. Kick chase, it's just hard work. Expect nothing less.
On the line.
Net result of the kicking.
On the line.
Japan get this line out. Sakate. Spent much of his test career behind Shota Horie. Just pushed that one. Horie, who is back on the bench. Of course, he was missing last week with COVID, as was Naoto Saito, as was Noguchi, the fullback. No sign of him back in the 23, but given the start that Yamanaka's had in this game, Jamie Joseph certainly knew what he was doing when he continued to select the 34-year-old Kobelco Steelers man.
Well, it's been a good platform, hasn't it, for the French so far in the opening 23 minutes. What do? Do they try and earn themselves penalties so they can push it into the corner? They play out the base quickly.
That feeling that Damien Penaud is going to pop up. And there he goes. Chip downfield from Penaud. Not a lot of room to work in. Yamanaka, that looked forwards. And indeed, Mike Adamson agrees. Putting themselves under a bit too much pressure there, but it was a clever kick from Penaud.
It's a clever kick from Penaud, but I thought that pass from Yamanaka was forward. They get themselves in a bit of a pickle sometimes when they're just retreating. Their organisation, when they're under pressure and having to race back to clear up balls that put in behind them, doesn't look as slick as it could be.
Good position this for France. Scrum holds steady. Luku wants to go down the blind side. It's Jalibert, he's lost it forwards. Well, Tom May, we talked about the moisture on the ball, the sweat and the humidity. Look, for all the money that, were it not for that, Mathieu Jalibert would have held on to that and played it to Penaud. But forward it goes.
Jalibert's intention was to get in between those two defenders. And in his mind, he was probably seeing himself give a ball out the back of that second defender to give Penaud a nice run to the line. As I said, these conditions are so difficult. Anytime you take one hand off the ball, it makes it almost impossible, especially if you've got hands the size of mine, to hold on to it.
Naoto Saito, Santuri Songoliath, scrum half. As Demba Bamba doesn't manage to get engaged at scrum time. Saito will know the pressure that's going to come through this scrum, how quickly he'll need to try and get this away without that French 8 putting on sufficient pressure for long enough to cause a penalty. 9 and 10, Saito and Lee having the chat. Inagaki, Sakate and Valu against Gros, Movaka and Bamba. In it goes, and there it is, straight away from the base. Lee was just an extra man out, and look at that clearance.
He's looked sharp. Young player, just 21. Obviously, it's his third cap. Okay, he made one mistake in knocking that ball on, but largely he can point the finger at Yamanaka. But he's been quick on his feet, he's made good decisions. He's got a kicking game.
It's nice to get the backing as well, isn't it? He had to step in last minute last week, and then, well, Yu Tamura is back, but on the bench, waiting to earn a 70th cap. All that experience, but Jamie Joseph backing Sung Ching Lee. Jalibert. Fifita. Yamanaka, left peg. Looks towards the right touchline, but France will have the scrum inside the Japanese half.
Well, all of these teams...
Line out, I should say.
Yeah. All of these teams will be looking to try and develop their strength and depth, won't they, through these summer tests, moving into November. And obviously a massive year. They need to know where they can go should their frontline players become injured and not be available.
France go cute at the front once more, then it's on for Movaka. Sakate wanted to try and get over and get a hand on that, but French come in at the side to try and repel the Japanese defence. And it's another raise of the arm from Mike Adamson in the way of the Brave Blossoms. Look at that face on Peter Movaka. Just as it seems that they're starting to do things right, France, they're coughing it up in terms of discipline. You can see pretty easy there to see the skipper, Olivon, helping come through at the side to try and secure possession.
The reason that happened, there's 3 players that are looking for an offload, as opposed to looking at the first primary job, which is to fix the ball on the floor. Now, Movaka might have made that slightly easier by going to ground and making it simpler to clear out, but you need to do that primary task before looking to try and play.
Down from Leach. Bouncing ball was a tricky one for Saito. Gros eventually repelled. Saito puts this one in the air. Van den Heever getting after it. Really good take from Lebel. Luku for Bamba. Swims his way through a couple of tackles. Oh, Luku just lost it backwards, but Jalibert clears it downfield. Yamanaka. Fifita. Oh, and he just looked to try and make an offload off the floor, but it's gone forwards. So now, Vakatawa. Oh, he's gone for the little chip and chase for himself. Is that going to work out? Referee happy to play the knock-on advantage as over, and Yamanaka, where's he off to? Sung-Shin Lee. Moments where this game is incredibly loose. Spring now looking to chase his own kick. Oh, it was nearly the perfect take from Van den Heever, but he couldn't hold on to it, and it's back with France. Luku holds the ball at the second time of asking. Sung-Shin Lee puts his foot on the ball by calling the mark. Pick the bones out of that, Tom May.
Japan, behind the ball, please. Behind the ball.
It's a bit of bedlam at times, isn't it? There's not a huge amount of ball control shown by both teams. Ultimately ended up with a really poor kick from Luku. If you're going to get the ball into that 22, and defensively there are players there, you need to go along the deck.
France look to keep it alive. Spring back in for Jalibert, who now is getting after his own kick. A few Japanese players certainly changing lanes a little bit to not allow Jalibert through. Officials not too hot on picking that up. Asaeli Valu then with the carry, the Tongan-born prop.
Be careful. Be careful. Use it.
Scored the try that drew the match in 2017, Valu. This will be a good competition. Oh, it comes back off a Japanese hand, but the first man there was Thibaut Flamand.
Did well to stay in touch as well.
He did. Gros. Toulon prop with the carry. Then Mofana looking to try and use the footwork, but it was a good tackle from Lee. Now Jalibert to probe into the corner once more.
There's a lot of huff and puff from France there as we have another water break. A good decision from Mathieu Jalibert. Just stick the ball in behind. Make that kick on your terms.
Look at that head-to-head. Sung-Shin Lee, 27 metres made to Jalibert's 2. bearing in mind we do often see, as you mentioned, Thomas, Jalibert likes to be a running threat.
It does. They just haven't had the front football as they would have liked yet. Largely, the opportunities for Japan have come of counter-attack, turnover ball. I'm sure Jalibert won't stay on 2 meters. You see what he was trying to do in that instance, trying to draw in Fifita. If you can get that outside defender to make one decision either way early, it makes your decision on the ball far easier. How nice is it to sit on a subs bench just in your kit without all the wall gear on?
It's called summertime, Tom.
On the front, man. Time on.
Defensive line-out for Japan. Well dealt with down for Cornelsen. Clearance, another good one, but it is going to allow Penaud to play it back in for the Racing Man Spring on his debut for France. Oh, it's going to run and run, is it? Oh, it comes off the post protector. Yamanaka.
Stop in front.
Decent kick.
He was lucky there, Spring, because he caught hold of that one. That was going dead. Looks like he's swerved one as well, doesn't he, by that sheepish look on his face.
Line.
Don't say he meant it.
Well, you talk about defensive decisions. I mean, he was having to decide where he was going to put himself
That gap is good. They're on the line.
when we saw the Japanese try. Dylan Riley managing to suck in 2 France defenders. If you've just joined us and you missed that earlier, well, it is well worth a watch back. Now Mofana's putting a load of pressure on here, but Japan have managed to play. Oh, nice little ball inside from Yamanaka.
Advantage back to the knock-on.
No advantage coming for Japan from the knock-on from France. Yamanaka has really showed up this afternoon, hasn't he?
Knock-on. Yeah, let's have.
He's done well. He's cleared up a lot of rubbish at the back for Japan. He's cleared his lines. There's a lot to think about in that French management box. But they were faced with this situation last week, and the outcome changed. The difference will be where are Japan mentally this week compared to last.
Certainly when it comes to that second 40, will be fascinating. 6.5 minutes remain of the first half, though. And the Tokyo crowd get behind their side with the slender 1-point advantage, 1 try apiece. Saito, little look to the right, then goes to the left. Is that going to carry all? It's not quite going to carry, somehow just stays in field, and Spring gets away from 1, and then Penaud outside the 22. Lucu. Back in field we go, Jalibert. Doesn't look to be too much of a plan from France. Certainly a lot of the time, anyway. Sung-Shin Lee, then Yamanaka just gets through the initial tackle of Thomas Jolmes. Now they might have numbers here, Japan, if they can make this work. Van den Heever. Penaud looking to try and wrestle the ball away through the tackle. Saito back in field from Inagake to the captain, Sakate. Now again, Penaud caught in field. Van den Heever just manages to smuggle it back in again. This is good from Japan. Asaeli Valu. They want to keep going down that short side. They're certainly looking to question the defence of the likes of Lucu and Penaud. Little offload game again. Bamba trying to make the tackle, but oh, just crabbing a few metres along the floor when they needed to lay it back and play it. Sakate hugely frustrated. Japan were building again.
It was brilliant play, wasn't it? Patient, really intelligent to try and work off those touch lines, make sure they're not giving France an easy out.
Time off. Yeah.
They're actually far better with ball in hand, Japan, than they are defensively. There's a fair bit to work on from a defensive point of view, because there's no way Jalibert should have got that ball up towards halfway. There's 3 missed tackles deep in that French 22 that certainly Fafita should have made, 1 or 2 others. But when they've got ball in hand, their intent to get over the game line, to find space, little tip-on passes.
Well, you could just tell that Jamie Joseph has just gone basics, 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 can't you? They're a side that absolutely trust close passes, long passes being on the shoulder. Valu, qualified through residency in 2017, back ready to rejoin the action. The Tongan-born man played in that Rugby World Cup 3 years ago. France just haven't been able to settle.
They've had to wait since that World Cup, haven't they, to topple an inverted commas tier 1 nation. They'd love to knock the French over. Given the French performances over the past 2 seasons, that would be a massive statement.
Olivon. Tanga. Luku with the long kick downfield. Fafita. Yamanaka. Immediately, there are 7 red and white shirts back in the line. That's gone forwards in the tackle. That's the ambition, though, isn't it? That's the work rate we're seeing from Japan. As soon as the ball is caught at the back by Yamanaka, he's got 7 options outside him.
You have to weigh up those situations, though. Moefana had that inside defender covered. You're just about to get clattered by Vakatawa, and you're smaller than him, so he's going to make an impact on your body shape. So therefore, when you've got the ball in one hand, you're trying to get it inside. It's not under control. It's not a percentage or high percentage chance of it coming off. Scrums have leveled themselves up a bit, haven't they?
Too much weight. Too much weight.
That was always going to happen.
Yeah, Japan not quite in control of that, so it's free kick that goes to Galtier's men. They want to scrum it again.
Just make sure you don't step up. I'll tell them not to push. Just make sure if you don't step up. Not too much pressure. Hold the weight back.
Interesting that on the one hand, referee Adamson has free kicked Japan for too much weight, but on the other, he's also told Jean-Baptiste Gros not to stand up and move back. He's obviously sensing that there's a bit of one and half a dozen of the other.
I would say that's every single scrum.
What, in the world ever?
Just like this, ball going on in here.
Tanga to Luku. Moefana. Luku once more. Japan look to try and shut this training ground move down, but it's spring onto Penaud. Penaud wants to try and get around Yamanaka, and he will use the touchline for what it's there for.
That's good from Yamanaka. Good physicality. Damien Penaud, he's long and rangy, but he's a physical winger. He did well to just keep that right hand on Penaud's shirt and ultimately dab him into touch. He's another one that's had a good game.
That one is well down from Warner Dearns. Fafita, oh, look at him. Strength of the legs to get out of the tackle. That was Moefana. Now France piling numbers in. They sense a chance to try and turn it over, but Japan wrestle back possession. Saito. Yamanaka drilling that one along the floor. Spring. That's an option outside, but the tackle from Sakate was good enough. Back in for Bamba, who loves it in the loose and gets tackled by Inagake, and he loses the ball. Japan again need to get the support in there. The clear out is made on Jolnes. Then it's Cornelson. Plays for the Wild Knights, then Sung Shin Lee. finding a bit more room on the outside, then offload City, back we go, and then Michael Leach continuing to run into the corner, support back inside. Japan are going to score their second. Oh, how about that?
I lied. You will see a better try this weekend. That was awesome. Amazing. Atsushi Sakate. Look at the little quick hands that come from the hooker. That's the ball that set it up. It's brilliant again from Japan. So good at taking opportunities when they're presented. Look at this little ball here. Quick hands. Really put Penaud under pressure. And Michael Leach, or Max Spring, left for dead with his hands on his head. I'll call him a veteran. The veteran back rower has just put the debutant in a box. Watch this. Oh! What have I done?
Hands to the head of Spring, look at that. Yamanaka, second try in the first half for him. And the conversion from Lee. Well, 13 points between them last week in Nagoya. France powered through in the second half, but here in Tokyo, there's just a sense that something might be building here. Japan, 2 tries to 1 up at half-time. They lead France 15.
What do you think of the performance of the first half?
I think it's a really good balance of us playing our Japan way and controlling the attack when we do lose momentum, and we're backing that up with good defensive pressure as well.
そうですね、すごくいいバランスでできていると思います。本当にジャパンウェイというやり方というような形でできていると思います。アタックもしっかりといいコントロールができてますし、モメンタム、勢いがなくなった時ですね、自分たちはしっかりそこでいいコントロールができているというのを思ってます。
ハーフタイムではどんな指示をされましたか？
What sort of message did you give to the boys in the first half?
We've worked very hard. Obviously, we've been in this situation before as well, so it's important to learn from last week. But we need to outwork the opposition if we want to be deserving in this Test match and win it. We're going to have to outwork France.
そうですね、本当このような同じような形はまた先週もこのような形で迎えたんですけども、自分たちとしては後半しっかりと相手よりも走り勝っていくこと、走り勝ってこの試合を取っていかなきゃいけないというふうに思ってます。そのところが重要になるということでメッセージとして伝えました。
ありがとうございます。
Olivon leads out the French side. Trailing as they are by 8 points. Former Toulon and England centre Tom May alongside us. And, well, Tom, 2 sensational tries from Ryohei Yamanaka. Full team tries. What do Japan need to do to stop France doing what they did last week and allowing that power game to pull them through?
I think it's been mentioned by John Mitchell at half-time as we were listening in. Balance was one of the first words that he used in his interview, and it's clearly something that they focused on during the week because they lacked it. They lacked control last week in Nagoya. But here today in Tokyo, they've been fantastic. 2 fantastic tries, as you mentioned, but also 2 outstanding stats that will stand up. 34 gain line success for Japan, just 13 for the French. They can't get on the front foot. 347 metres made against 130 for the French. That tells its own story. And those Japanese fans will be looking forward to another cracking 40 minutes.
Mathieu Jalibert waits to get the second half underway. France are looking for the Big Ten, looking to equal a 10-match winning streak set between 1931 and 1937. Well, that will be far from their minds at the minute. They've just got to get themselves back into this game. Second half underway in Tokyo. Jack Cornelsen. Fifita just dummied the offload.
Outside.
Around the corner he goes. Now Japan have got themselves outside the 22, so they can't kick this one directly to touch. Naoto Saito on his 8th cap.
No.
Out with COVID last week, back into the starting lineup. Taken by Spring. Step left, step right, straight into Michael Leach. Then it's there for Jolnes. Debut last week, the Bordeaux-Bègles man. Then Vakatawa into Derns. Luku. Yamanaka, man of the moment. Gets away from Jolnes, but only met the pair of Tanga and Bamba.
Use it.
Saito. Spring again. Tanga, oh, met by Ben Gunter. What a hit. France are going backwards in possession here. So now the little chip through. It's not quite going to work out. Saito placed it back, but it was well picked up. And now France could have a bit of room as Demba Bamba comes forwards. Got low into that hit from Leach, but the ball's gone forwards. Just wonder whether there was a bit of head contact on Leach as that tackle was made.
Well, I think any contact like that's going to take a bit of wind out of your sails. That's another one that will take wind out of your sails. Ben Gunter, 120 kilos on your doorstep as you catch the ball. Thanks.
Time off.
Happy Saturday. He is a big unit.
Started the League One final at 6 for the Wild Knights. Started against Uruguay in the second test. One of 3 try scorers in that second half. On his 5th cap this afternoon. As we said earlier, 10 of the Japan starting lineup with 8 or fewer caps. Not short of belief though, are they? As Mavaka makes way for Pierre Bourgarit. Thomas Lavant also coming onto the field for Jolnes to partner up with Flamand. Baby off the bench last week. On he comes for his 2nd cap. Saito. A little bit more time on the scrum that time. Yamanaka joining the line, then Sung-Shin Lee. But the pass wasn't held by Dylan Riley, and now Mathis Lebel is just fancying a run into the corner. Put it on the toe and then was able to pick it up. Now Luku plays it away. Jalibert, then Bourgarit, but he's lost it forwards. Well, it's going to be a penalty though. Japan were caught offside.
Offside.
Bourgarit will be pretty pleased.
He's got away with one there.
Number 3, never
Dylan
back.
Riley.
Push down, please.
Well, he's taking a big sigh of breath as well. After he
Just never
turned
go
that
back.
ball over. Interesting shift. They shifted into the midfield for Fifita to try and sit down Moefana and Vakatawa. Well, Vakatawa just read it like a kid's book. And then the ball in behind really started to stretch the Japanese before Bourgarit coughed it up.
Luku. Add 3 points. France up to 10 now. It's taken them this long to get to double figures.
It's not a happy-looking management box, is it? Ibanez further along with the cap on.
Lee with the restart. Follow up from Fafita.
Inside. Inside.
Luku with the benefit of the ball being inside the 22. Can aim to clear this, but he's not got much of an angle to work with. Vanden Heever quite happy to suggest to assistant referee Frank Murphy that he might want to stay up where he is.
It's good attacking position for the Japanese. Short line out, quick line out.
Yeah, they've not hung around. Cornelsen brings it down. Lee out the back. Wanga almost looked like he might have lost it forwards.
Oh,
French were appealing for it. Goes back to Vanden Heever. Oh, and they have adjudged that that's gone forwards. You got the sense they just got overexcited. They were quite in mind of the number advantage they had there on that ball.
Here comes the third try. Eyes widening. Just a bit of lack of precision. The pass to Nakano just on his back shoulder. Difficult to take. Really looked like Nakano was expecting it, to be fair.
Man who had his birthday last Sunday, Clermont prop, Sipili Falatia, comes onto the field.
Okay, scrums have been good. New front row, keep them up.
We're seeing Danny Priso onto the field as well.
Another prop in ridiculous nick. Great shape. Danny Priso carries well, haven't lost a huge amount. Soften their front rows, the French.
Bourgaret and Priso, pair from La Rochelle. Both now onto the field alongside Falatia in that new French front row. France aren't getting too much go forward on their ball there. Look at Saito applauding his pack, delighted that they weren't going anywhere. The pressure just forcing both front rows up.
Ball got stuck.
Well, apart from the message at half-time, keep doing what you're doing to the Japanese, that certainly would have been in one area that they wanted to tidy up.
Good elbow. Nice and straight.
And that's far steadier than we saw anywhere near through the first half in the Japanese at scrum time.
In the face of a new and fresh front row as well.
France. 5. 6.
Tanga for Luku.
Stop here.
France continue with the kicking game. Ball sat up, Vanden Heever. Ended up able to come onto it at pace. Tanga rolls out of the way. Lee. Yamanaka. Oh, the long pass for Nakano. Oh, and I think it was his face that made the whitewash. Will give France possession.
Yeah, just the back here.
Just a bit weak on that touchline. You've got to, unless you're going to get past that defender, or you feel you can get past them, you've got to come so hard off that outside foot to make sure you stay in field, because you know what the defender's going to be trying to do.
Bourgaret. Tanga. Luku. And Mofana into Lee.
Part the tackle.
Kick goes up into the sunshine. Well taken from Yamanaka.
Release now, release.
He's definitely got his eye on player of the match.
Hasn't he? Saito. Palu.
Stay back, back, push. One side. No. Use it.
Saito given the hurry up. Spring came forwards, but he's not owned it. And Japan, another offload. And now front football. Saito, Lee, they come running onto it. Olivon's got to try and get over that. And in fact, they've flooded forward in such numbers that they've started taking players out off the ball, the Japanese, so France will have the penalty. They need to be careful on the discipline and getting a little overexcited here, Japan. Stick to what they did first half if they have ambitions of getting this result over the line.
Comes back to that word of balance again, doesn't it? When do they play? When do they push the balls effectively into the corners? And box kicking is just offer the ball up at the moment to the French. It's too long. Now that may be a tactic, but if you're going to just toss the ball back to a team that wants to attack, it's going to cost you at some point.
Liku makes way. Onto the field, the Lyon man, Baptiste Couillou. France go with the long overthrow. The ball back in field was meant for Penaud. Just not quite on the same page with the same precision that we expect from Galtier's men.
I think that's a big mitt from Ben Gunter that's dislodged that ball. But Penaud, he would have felt he was under the sticks there.
Okay, balance, balance.
Look out for Baptiste Couillou.
Hold the weight.
He is absolutely rapid. And adds huge dynamism and pace to this French team in and around the breakdown. Japanese will have to look out for him.
Yeah, interesting man to be bringing on. Half an hour to play. It's the Japanese scrum first of all.
Stop here, stop.
Yamanaka. Oh, he was outside his 22. Went for broke. Steelers man frustrated. Given France a real opportunity here.
It's a big mistake, isn't it? At this level could be so costly, because these are the opportunities teams like France just crave.
Tanga at the front. Oh, but they've disrupted it superbly, Japan. Sakate. Then away from Gunter. It wasn't the easiest ball to take. And Dylan Riley. They get outside the 22 again. France looking to try and get in and turn it over.
You're okay. Number 13 needs to move away.
It's Vakatawa who's given away the penalty.
His teammates got him out of jail there. That big man again. To be fair, he's pushing Yamanaka. For player of the match, he's been brilliant. But it's those little moments. Penaud not catching that ball as he felt he was getting on a line break. That moment of turning the ball over. They'll start to ramp up on the French mindset. Is this going to be the day that we don't get it over the line?
Good take from Cornelsen. Wanger again.
Look at that, planting his legs through contact.
Still got so much energy with 52 minutes on the clock. Riley, he see what he was doing, just wanted to place the ball so that perhaps he could get back to his feet and play it, but in doing so the ball was loose and moved forwards, and Japan unable to make some of these moments where the break and the energy is beginning to look positive. Just guilty of an error or two now themselves.
Well, he might look as stiff as anything, but Michael Leach still gets through so much good work the hard yards, as we see there, clearing out the breakdown. He set up Yamanaka's try in the first half. Nearly put Dylan Riley away there with turning the ball back inside. He's central, isn't he, to how Japan play the game. A real nice blend between that balance that they talk about and the open style that they all crave.
Well, look at this bench, desperate to get on. You can understand that well, the starters are doing the job that they're doing. Shots like that coming in from Ben Gunter. Look at that, meters made, 16. Tackles 4. Probably a little reluctant to change things. Japan prepared for this two-match series against France with those 2 very solid wins against Uruguay.
Okay, good, same again.
Scored 6 tries in the second defeat of them over 8 days. Was a 43 points to 7 win. For a side that seemed to be bridging that gap between first tier and second tier. Almost out on their own, occupying that space between. South Africans will tell you what it felt like in 2015, the Irish as well in 2019, French in 2017 with that draw at La Défense. Yamanaka gets across field, sends it back for Jalibert. France still trailing by 5 points. Vanden Heever. Well, he'll make a few more meters. Saito with the clap of the hands, wants to get it away. Then it's Warner Dearns, the brave lupus man, just 20 years of age, and he's done well over the course of the game. But now it goes forwards. Pick-up is made from Priso. It wasn't easy. Now France with an opportunity. Vakatawa then plays it away for Jalibert. Penaud was running out of room and goes into touch.
I think Penaud was actually in touch when Jalibert passed him the ball. Probably slightly better off just taking contact himself, with the winger clearing him out.
Time off, injury.
They won't want to lose that man.
How appropriate the camera's on him. And the old House of Pain comes on.
Very good. Some phlegmatic looks on the faces of the French coaching team. Sanae Lawanga, 25 metres made. He's a second row, just to put that in context. It's another good take. Penaud gets back to field it. Straight downfield it goes. Not a great kick. Lee. Back in for Leach. Saito on from Valu to Dearns. They just do enough to stop Falatea getting in that and turning it over. A little bit flat-footed this time from Japan. The offload over the top wasn't really on from Wanga that time. And France are coming through to take advantage of these moments now where Japan are finding themselves a little too loose for their own good. And the penalty will go to Les Bleus. And they want to play quickly. Couillou will not hang around up to the 22. Baptiste Couillou. Solid yards and front foot for France. Olivon. Oh, that looked like it could have been a potential turnover moment, but Tanga, the man to carry. France looking to use Couillou's energy and the meters he's made to power from this position. Bourgarit gets close. Japan not rolling away while Gunter was in a good position for the turnover. Quiyu goes again quickly. Metre short. And we've got another penalty. Little slap of the hands from Jalibert. And Gunter, has he hurt himself?
Well, Gunter, as you'd expect from someone that looks more like a 6 than a 7, puts in some incredibly hard yards. Defensively, works so hard for his team. And Japan, well, they almost shot themselves in the foot, didn't they? Just trying to overplay, as you said, Nick. Wanga was guilty in the midfield.
I thought from the signal from Mike Adamson that he'd given the penalty to France, but it was for the turnover from Gunter. It's just as he's got twisted there, it's no doubt had an effect on that knee. I did think, because he turned to Michael Leach and Leach said, "Are you okay?" How do you tell Michael Leach that you're feeling it a bit and you might need to go? The man who has been in more battles than anybody else. Sanae Ilawanga is the man who makes way. What a contribution he's made on just his second cap. Future of Japanese rugby is looking very bright indeed. And what about the present? They've repelled France again from their own line. The man they won't want to see is frame of Tavita Tatafu, who's just come onto the field as well. Lee, Yamanaka, Van den Heever, just going a bit laterally.
And they're getting themselves up little rabbit holes that they can't get themselves out of. They're going across the field, which means defensively, as soon as that contact's made, they're on the back foot. Hard for the support to get in behind them. Ben Gunter's dragging his leg around. He's really struggling.
Certainly is. Jalibert looked to try and take a bit of comfort in the shadow of Lebel. Loses his shorts in the process. Penalty goes to France.
Japan need to get that message on, that they need to revert back to type. And by type, I mean the last 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes of this game. Don't get carried away with leading against France.
Well, you can expect a very warm reception now. And I don't mean just because of the temperature. While Shane Gates comes onto the field, it is also captain Atsushi Sakate who makes way, but back onto the field. A man who has given so much to Japanese rugby, earning a 68 cap, Shota Horie. Was out with COVID last week. Sakate's been brilliant. France with another chance to strike from the 22 now. Olivon. France trying to steer that to the touchline. Back in from Priso. Quiyu with the dummy. Aurier's going to have to be alert. First moment on the field. Has to grab hold of the French replacement scrum half. Confirmation on your screen that Shogo Nakano is the one who has been replaced by Gates. France still with possession, trying to make the yards. Japan trying to rip it away, and look at that effort from Tatafu, but I think there's a penalty advantage being played to France.
No hands. Onside.
Quiyu, Vakatawa.
It's almost the same shape that we saw for one of the French tries last week. Vakatawa on a bounce out.
Pivotal moment in the game, this. France get themselves over, try and conversion back into the lead with the final quarter of the match to go. They will feel more like they're in the comfortable territory they need to be to go on and get the win. But, well, there's the respect they're showing to Japan. Not content to try and or not really, with the belief that they will get through this Japanese team. They go for 3 points and just will look to narrow that 5-point gap.
Water break after this kick.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick.
Lads,
I think there's an element of
no water until the water breaks. No water until the water breaks.
showing Japan respect, but also they're lacking confidence in their game, and maybe that's
After this kick.
a good thing for this French team to understand. Okay, things aren't going our way. How do we try and manufacture a win out of a situation where we're not performing? And let's face it, they haven't performed, but they only find themselves 2 points down on a scoreboard where they've been outplayed.
And if they've got designs on enjoying every moment of a whole World Cup, home World Cup next year, they're going to have to understand how to win ugly as well.
Well, and their first game in the World Cup next year is against a lesser-known team in the All Blacks, and they're going to find it pretty difficult at times in that game. So how are they going to go through those periods of the game where the All Blacks have got a huge amount of momentum and are shutting down the opportunities that they're presented with? You see a little head-to-head for Fifita, 54 metres. He's got the number on Damien Penaud this afternoon. I saw him in the under-20s tournament a few years ago for Fifita. He was about 4 times the size of everyone else. And there was no doubt then that he was going to go on and be a central player for the Japanese senior team, and it's proving that way.
Two extremes. Max Spring on debut to Shota Horie, as Yu Tamura watches on alongside Sakate. Not being requested or required off the bench as yet. Or has he maybe just had the order? Sung-Shin Lee acquitted himself incredibly well over the last couple of weeks. Jamie Joseph rewarding him with his display last week with the start. This time around, even with Tamura returning on the bench, waiting to earn a 70th cap. Kuyu. Vanden Heever. France come tearing up. Oh, but Vanden Heever gets through the tackle of Lebel.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh. I thought Priso had done an absolute job there. Now, you'd have to say he's too long. He can't support his body weight in that position, which is a good decision, but he was in so quickly.
Too long, overextended, not in a position to lift.
Bought for all the money that Priso was in that right position, but you're quite right. You said the call. Referee backs you up, Tom, mate. What do I know?
Not many that have done that at times. He made such a good dart in between the defenders that almost got himself isolated.
Well, we talked a few moments ago about France being in the Japan 22 and how pivotal it may have been. They took 3 points to narrow the lead that Japan have.
Japan in, onto the line, onto the line. Thank you.
What about Japan here? What would it do to France if they could get themselves more points from this position? It's Lee, then Vanden Heever, then in for Riley. It's taken an extra tumble and almost looked like he lost it, but Riley, his last couple of incidents on the ground and in the carry have just given away knock-ons, given away penalties. Another one goes begging for Japan. France will be delighted to clear.
It's the extra roll. Why bother? The quicker you can get the ball back, the less time the defence has to set. Such good handling. Just go to deck there. Let Tatafu get right underneath that fetcher for France.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if he could have bounced Tanga out of there.
It's two big human beings.
Probably could have powered the Japanese national grid. with the energy from such a collision. Bourgarit down for Olivon. Quiyu had no time at all. Jalibert looking to bounce this into the corner. That's very nice from the Bordeaux fly half.
It's a great kick, intelligent kick, and it just builds more pressure on the Japanese, who probably felt like they were just starting to relieve some of that, and they find themselves all the way back up the other end of the field.
Sekou Makalu comes onto the field. Damien Penaud is making way. Yamanaka in at first receiver to make that clearance. Out it goes. Lebel will play it quickly. In for Spring. Oh, he's got through two tackles there, Max Spring. This is a brilliant run from the fullback. Oh, and he looks to step inside. Jack Cornelson just getting back to make the tackle. Wonderful from Spring, who's done an awful lot during this game. Not always altogether positive, but then France shielding the ball carrier, giving away the penalty.
Well, that's exactly the sort of contribution that Max Spring would have wanted to bring to this game. A large part of his contribution so far has been hoofing the ball back upfield or retrieving balls that have been put in behind this French team. 3 defenders, Japanese defenders, just left on the deck. Max Spring showing what he can do.
"42 points France scored a week ago against Japan. What a job these replacements have to do. But it's pretty handy when you can bring on a man to earn a 70th cap in the Yokohama Cannon Eagles fly half, Yu Tamura. Kaito Shigano on as well, the blitz scrum half. Good effort from Saito and from Sung Shin Lee. But that wasn't good enough from Horia. Not straight. Option for France, and they will take the scrum.
2 slightly older heads in Shingeno and Tamura. Those 2 have played well though. Saito and Lee. Exciting pair for the Japanese. You can understand why they just want this game to be managed slightly better than it has been the last 25 minutes. It's almost like they've forgotten what they did so well in that first half. Yu Tamura, he knows his way around a rugby field. They need to grab this game by the scruff of the neck and quickly.
Tanga picks. Quiyu, more depth from France, and they have managed to find Spring. Turning the Japanese over, the pickup from Makalu was superb. Everyone was watching to see what the ball might do, but Japan have managed to get the penalty, putting the pressure on, as ultimately the Frenchman was isolated.
Well, Fafita, watch this. If you're going to go for man and ball, get man and ball. He didn't. He missed. It created space, and then Makalu, Tamura just dicing with death, didn't know whether to try and leave the ball.
On the 5.
Tackle Makalu in the end. He ended up doing nothing. And Japan, they come up with such an important penalty again within their own 5 meters. But how many times can they roll the dice like this?
Just 6 points scored in the second half. 2 penalties from France, from Lucu and then Jalibert. You don't sense for a minute that Japan are going to be able to get this one across the line without further adding to the scoreboard themselves. They need to rediscover the accuracy and composure they showed in the first half, all the while France breathing more and more down their necks. Aurier needs to get the line out right. Oh dear, oh dear. He's got the yips, hasn't he?
He has got the yips, and now isn't the time to have those yips. You just wonder whether there's a bit of confusion in those line-out calls. Doesn't look convincing the way he's throwing the ball in.
Looked like he looked for Leach as a secure option there, rather than perhaps the planned one.
Managed to sort their scrum out, and now their line-out's gone to pot. 12 minutes, survived the onslaught.
Big scrum from France, big shove as well. Quiyu plays it away, Makalu off the right wing. But Japan getting in for the turnover once again. Tatafu in there, and Gunter. Japan have looked to try and play.
Ball didn't leave your hands. Scrum.
Oh dear, oh dear. What an error. They've taken the quick tap, but not accurately.
They can understand why they went quickly, because the line-out's not functioning, so they're not going to get the ball back, but at least it will be 60 metres upfield. Now, they've turned that ball over off their own penalty, and again, they're under huge pressure. He's been good, hasn't he? Ben Gunter. Ably supported by the added weight of Tevita Tatafu.
Free kick, France again. Japan just too keen to add their weight too early. France invite Japan to come again. Well, unsurprising given how dominant the last scrum looked. And they will know that Mike Adamson will consider more than a free kick if the Japanese engage early again. At this stage, 10 minutes left on the clock. France just need to get themselves in the lead, and a penalty will do that. A few Japanese in French shirts, no less. Quiyu given a call to use, but he just kept it long enough to try and get the penalty advantage, but he was just in the starting blocks, and away goes Baptiste Quiyu. Super solo score. The Lyon scrum half, electric and under the posts, and France into the lead for the first time in this second half.
Well, when he came on, I said he was quick. This shows you exactly what he's capable of. Japan just completely overreading the situation. Stay close, close the ball down, make them take a shot at goal. Do not open up a space like that for Baptiste Quiyu. That's been coming. They've been flirting with that for a long time, the Japanese. And that man has punished them.
Jalibert adds the conversion. France up to 20, Japan 15. It's taken France until the 70th minute to score their second try in Tokyo. But what complexion will the game take on now? now that Galtier's men have got themselves in the lead.
Right now, I can't see a way for Japan to get themselves back into this. That said, they're capable of pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Seen that. All it needs is one of their game breakers. Fafita, Yamanaka, Van den Heever, Riley, one of them will do something. They have to just make it capitalise.
Inagaki. How good's he been over the course of the game? Just seeing the Max Spring highlights reel.
Those meters will always be up because he's a fullback, but you have to say he's done well to get to 90 metres.
France back into the lead then. Scored the game's first try. Japan have made a few of the kickoffs a little more contestable, but oh, Spring knocks it on. It's a good job they put that little highlights reel together, because he's had a few moments that would make quite a lowlights reel as well over the course of this match.
This is the moment that they would have been looking for. And it's going to be Fafita that gets shifted around somewhere. If I were the Japanese, I would not be leaving him out on the left wing unless I get the ball to him early. I'd be sticking him in midfield where they can fix defenders, create space.
Also wouldn't shy away from using that man, the Samoan-born Tevita Tatafu. Came to Japan as a schoolboy, played the under-20s. Was good last week, but clearly Jamie Joseph has looked at him as an impact man. Well, we talked you through the main players. Can Japan make it count? It's Van den Heever who comes off the right wing. France looked to try and dislodge it. Oh, it was loose ball. It was well jumped on by Shigeno. Tatafu will pick himself. Horie plays it away. They need to get on the same page. Yamanaka was just losing the ball. Makalu enveloped himself around it. Horie then on for Leach. To the left, Riley. It's well driven back. Penalty Japan. Trailing by 5.
Can't go to the corner. Have to scrum. Tatafu into Fafita off that left-hand side. This is brave. If they go to the corner, Horie will be twitching.
Looks like it's going to be the call. Well, well.
I think that's the wrong call. If that was me on the field, you can back your players to the hilt. I get it. I understand it. Show confidence in your teammates.
They put Tatafu at the front, but he's certainly not the tallest. Leach at the tail. That time it does work. Tatafu round the corner and for the line! What a score! Tevita Tatafu. The smile on Jamie Joseph's face says it all.
There was a reason he was round the front. They knew Shota Horie was going to land it all day long. They've set them up. 2 wonky throws and an absolute peach to the back. Michael Leach dropped it into Tevita Tatafu, who's trundled his way round and bowled Mathieu Jalibert.
Okay, I'm going to show you the player.
Oh, now then.
And not pressing down the ground in it.
Firimi Vakatawa was one of those gesticulating about a knock-on. And that is a nervous look on the face of Tevita Tatafu. Mike Adamson looked pretty confident when he gave the try, but...
For his control.
Correct. That's correct. He was in possession and then he loses control. There's separation and the ball goes forward. We'll get the best angles for you now.
Ben Whitehouse, our TMO, well, he's described it to us already before we even see this.
In possession, loses control, clear separation.
Correct.
It's a knock-on. It's not going to be the try for
The
Tatafu.
knock-on was in goal.
Knock-on was in goal, so it'll be a goal line drop in.
The one positive for Japan,
No
they get the
try.
ball back.
Knock forward, in goal, it's a goal line drop in.
So close. But Japan still with it to do.
Okay. Okay, time on.
Under real pressure there, wasn't he, from 3 defenders. It's always going to be tough to keep control, but now he has another chance.
Oh, and he's knocked it on again on the floor.
He hasn't knocked that on. He's let go of that and picked it up again. That said, he looks like he has knocked it on.
5 minutes left of the match in Tokyo. Japan 15, France 20.
Nice and square. Stay down. Square, stay down.
Tough position to defend from Japan, because they can't come forward quickly because they've got a scrum midfield, which means they're just going to shift, give space to the French to try and shepherd them towards the touchline. That allows the French. This will go into the corner if I was wearing a blue shirt.
Oh, penalty goes the way of Japan. Baptiste Quiou was happily keeping it in there, expecting the same result out of Mike Adamson. And a penalty to France.
Pressure was on, tight head went in.
Here the call, tight head went in from France.
Big kick coming from Yu Tamura.
Looks a decent nudge as well. Same again.
Slightly further out, but if it worked, I don't think I'd put Shota Horie under that much pressure again. Oh, I don't know. They're not that far out at all.
They've gone with Leach to the front this time. They are going to vary it. Oh, the dummy that time from Tamura. He was almost through entirely. Almost surprised himself by having got through without a finger on him. Ball's gone forwards though, France then with the chance to clear. And crucially still in control of the scoreboard. Oh, where is Spring off to?
It's worked out well for France. Fingertip touch from the Japanese means that the French will come up with a chance to clear their lines again. But Yu Tamura just hold on to it. That's desperation. Desperate to make something count in these closing seconds of this game in Tokyo.
We've seen Leach spoil one or two, but France tried something clever round the front. Referee Adamson says that wasn't straight. Look on the face of Bourgarit says it all. 2 minutes remain. Japan call the scrum on the French 22.
Well, they can create that situation where they get that Tatafu Fifita combination. 2 big men running into channels, policed by the likes of Jalibert. Patience on the ball, don't force it. Any rash offloads. This is the game right here, I think.
sides, more space. More space. Let's go. Let's go.
It's humid enough in Tokyo without the added pressure. There's 60 seconds on the clock. And a chance to try and grab victory against France. Straight and direct initially. Then Shigeno will come back this way. Oh, it's gone forwards. Unforced error, really. French defence coming up. Desperate moments. And that, you sense, is the game.
That is that. You'd have to say, as much as that should be caught by Jack Cornelson, that ball was fired at him. Didn't need to be passed that hard. You need to know who you're passing it to. Yes, these are all world-class players, but just make it easier for the guys trying to catch it under huge pressure. Jamie Joseph, to me, looks like a man who's resigned to the fact that this is going to slip away from the Japanese team.
Nice square. Stay square. Keep the space. Space. Square.
Such an improved performance to that from last week. Maybe that middle period of the second half combined with the first 5 or 10 minutes as well, where they really lacked balance and control, has ultimately let them down. But France here, 10 seconds to play out. They'll barely have to make more than one pass to end this game.
Quiyu just has to get this away. Then the clearance has to be made. Jalibert puts the ball into touch. And that will round things off in Tokyo. France survive a huge scare against a Japan team who played their hearts out. An emotional weekend with the passing of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. They did him proud, but more than that, well, they could well have won it. But for France, it is a 10-game match-winning streak. It equals the record set between 1931 and 1937, which included 8 wins against Germany and a win apiece against England and Italy. France victorious. They'll meet again in November. It finishes in Tokyo. Japan 15, France 20.